Annie here again. So I am going to share the final piece of my abortion story. Yeah. So thank you so much for those who have tuned in. I know that there's a lot going on now around this topic, and it's very emotional, of course. And I just want to acknowledge that my passion that comes through when I'm sharing this story um, is my passion that I feel in my body as somebody who very much orients around um, just this freedom and health that I'm experiencing right now. And I also want to respect that um, like this is a very sensitive topic, obviously, and that it might. I respect that it just might not be the energy for some, and um, I just I just want to acknowledge that, and that's why this is a vulnerable share, um, and so thinking about it now, I just feel grateful that I'm safe. I feel grateful that I made the decisions I've made in the past. And like I said, it wasn't much of a decision. But it just was me advocating for the life that I wanted to have, which is one of freedom for myself. And so it wasn't so much of a decision. So where we left off last time, um, I shared about being uh, in Middle America and just not really having access in Wyoming. When I was there over the holidays with my family, I I did call a doctor. I think about having the procedure while I was out there. I was given much attitude about it. In going to Colorado, I definitely felt judged by this medical person on the phone when I inquired about having this procedure. Um, yeah, and they told me, to go to Colorado, and I was dismissed. So, um, the challenges we're experiencing now, yeah, I can relate to from my direct experience as well. And that's why I'm just so grateful for all those out there who are um, educating, empowering, and making sure resources for safety stay available. Check out the Plan C website. And I am so grateful for the Planned Parenthood organization because that's how I was able to have a safe procedure and really have a lot of caring people, make sure I felt safe and as comfortable as possible, which is hard. It's kind of an uncomfortable process throughout it. Um, so at the end of the holidays, I, in my early 20s, I'm kind of a renegade style person. Being an entrepreneur and being very adventurous, I was traveling at this point during this leg of the journey. Uh, no longer able to travel with family or friends, but I took a Craigslist ride in 1,100 miles from Wyoming to California, and it was excellent. This friend I made that day, and perhaps we'll never see again. Very grateful for that ride. And I landed myself in Chico, California, where I was not living, but had really good friends, and just wanted a place that was more neutral than like my home. I was living communally with a lot of people, um, and I wanted a little more calm space that I could have privacy to do this. So went to Chico, told my friend I was staying with, I had scheduled an appointment for the procedure, and they supported me. And I chose the physical procedure, not the chemically induced with the pill. Um, so going in and having it removed, and it was very surreal. Yeah. Um, I remember just kind of being able to just to feel okay. I was just kind of took it as like a meditation. Okay, this isn't a choice. This is just what's happening. Um, let's say I was trying to get pregnant and I had a miscarriage. I mean, whether it's me choosing or a different part of Mother Nature, of which I am an extension of, we make choices. And so, just kind of deep breathing, acknowledging my feelings. Um, the nurse was very kind. And, I remember that day, in my early 20s, kind of nervous, doing something I'd never done before. Once again, obviously uncomfortable, an invasive um, emotional procedure, but just reminding myself, okay, this is how women or people who can give birth have been controlling the population of their communities, have been controlling their lives for all of time, most of the time. So just reminding myself this wasn't something new, wrong, or only available because of medicalization. And historically, we've used herbs to prevent pregnancy. The a lot of hormonal birth control comes from the wild yam originally. It's probably just they can synthesize it now, but there's some species of wild yam where that chemical comes from. And there's many other herbs, and I'm gonna touch on that later because I'm an herbalist and I've never been on ongoing birth control hormones, and I've used herbs. But I'll touch on that at the end. That's what I want to end on, some empowering educational points. So yeah, I just remember this nurse talking to me and telling me, her sister got pregnant while she was on her period. You can get pregnant at any time. And yeah, just very kind. And my friends taking care of me afterwards, bringing me soup, and really just allowing myself to not be okay. That was huge. This is probably one of the bigger procedures I would go through in my life, like hopefully, knock on wood. And or at least at that time it was. And just some natural emotions coming up around it, really allowed myself to just be taken care of and really allowed myself to just not be okay. I just felt a lot, and it was not guilt about doing it. It was just a lot in general. And so, I went home. I rested for like a day or two, then went home, and I remember telling my, a couple people in my community and just breaking down and really like crying a lot and, just really letting it all come out. And even though that was really hard, in a lot of ways, it just really let me heal in that moment. There was there was nothing to hide. I didn't want to hide it, of course, with the people who I was close with, living with, and who are my friends and chosen family. So, and the last piece I'll say about that, because I just really like allowed myself to be in the emotions. And I would say one of my biggest takeaways were that part around the emotions, just being so emotional about it, and it was not guilt, and it was not. I felt really good about my choice, and I had no issue with my body making some cells that maybe would have been a person, maybe not. You know, but just owning my life, making my choices. I just felt that that was really good practice to just really be with things, not try to make sense of things. There wasn't anything to make sense of. It just was nothing to do, nothing to fix, to just let it come out. And so the last piece around the healing, because I had the vacuum procedure, there is that's a physical thing that's happening that is a little bit intense. And years later, I'm not going to get into the details of this story, but I was receiving some body work that I highly recommend, this modality called BREEMA, BREEMA. I was receiving a BREEMA session, and I had some trauma from a different situation, a relational situation, that I was really doing a lot of somatic work for. And so I really immersed myself in receiving BREEMA and going to classes up in Oakland. And so I was receiving a full session, and I had some pain show up during the session that I had never felt before around my womb area. And throughout this session, this pain got more intense for a moment, and then went away and moved into like a feeling of bliss and love throughout my body. And there was more to that story, the visuals I was having, and it was fairly psychedelic. And it was extraordinarily healing. Like it was very much around this procedure. There was like a visualization that included like fetuses that showed up. And like I said, I didn't have emotional issues. Even in this BREEMA session, it wasn't that emotional. It was a physical pain. So my interpretation of that is it was like some scar tissue in my physical body. Maybe it was energetic, but it could have been physical, that was healed through someone working on my head. They had their feet here and their head on the back of their hands on the back of my head, like a baby would be coming out of the womb holding them. Very trippy, very, very beautiful. And that's the magic of the somatics. Um, and you could say it's magic or woo woo, or you could say our physiology is complex and wise. And when we get out of our heads, slow down, we leave room for these things to move and emerge from other places in our bodies. So um, that work was part of my own personal healing that is foundational to the work I do today. Doing that somatics and leaving room for our body's wisdom to take over, leaving room for that not knowing and not making sense of things. So I think that's where I'll leave it. I know I didn't go into great detail with some aspects of it, but I'm not sure how much that matters. Like I said, I just really have appreciated other people that shout your abortion, hashtag shout your abortion. Really appreciate that, and just wanted to follow suit. Thank you for others who have been leading the way in with that vulnerability. And thank you once again to all those out there helping helping people have safety around this procedure and being able to be autonomous caretakers of their own bodies, and acknowledging that we still live in a patriarch where there aren't I don't know of any laws around male bodies besides having to cover genitals in public, which is also applicable to all of us. So that's that. And then I'll share just for a few minutes around herbs. Abortificants are herbs that induce abortions. And I was not, like I said, I've never been on hormonal birth control. I have used Plan B like a handful of times, condom spray, young person being irresponsible. But after I had the abortion, I felt really empowered to educate myself more around actually using birth control. And so I started studying herbs. And I was also, I've studied ecology. That's what my undergrad is in. So I've always been into like learning about surroundings that we're in, including plants. So I started growing and studying and using herbs as preventative. Now I don't use them as I've never used them as like full-on birth control, meaning I do not have people ejaculate inside of my body without a barrier. But I would use them sort of like a plan B. Oh, I feel like I'm kind of like that was a close call or something, or I feel like I might have been exposed during sex for whatever reason. Or just like once a month, kind of like encouraging my body, like I'm not going to be pregnant. And you can look up any herbs that under abortificants. Any herb that says do not use while pregnant may have those qualities too. Most herbs that help with blood flow regulation, blood flow or increasing blood flow too if you have like slow circulation. Yarrow is an example of one herb that helps balance blood flow, and maybe not recommended if you're pregnant and trying to stay pregnant, and also can be used as an abortifacient. Herbs are not labeled as abortificants because of liability issues. Any company selling herbs is not going to say, hey, use this to induce a miscarriage, because it's a liability. People don't, Yeah. So uh, these are herbs I've used. And disclaimer, please always do your own research. Talk to multiple professionals. A lot of doctors are not educated with herbalism. You can look up a local herbalist. I always say support your local herbalist. I'm sure you can find one. Um, but I always say get multiple opinions and then do your own research online. If you're on medications, if you have contraindications for an herb that are unrelated, you want to do your own research. And people have been using herbs since the beginning of time. So there's that. Yarrow, wild carrot, pennyroyal, better to use externally. I'll put the oil like over this area, sometimes even just one little drop. Mugwort, wild yam. You can get wild yam tincture. Most of these are in tincture or extracts. Yeah. And tansy. Tansy is one you got to take in really small amounts. It can be dangerous if you take too much. And as a general rule of thumb, what I do with herbs, if I'm using them for one particular purpose, I like to have like a couple that I use to keep my sensitivity high. So I'll rotate through. Or if there's an herb like tansy that, yes, it's good to use for this purpose to prevent pregnancy. And also, you can easily overdose. Like, you don't want to take a lot of tansy. It's dangerous. Like, you might not want to take it at all. Definitely not recommending people take it. You got to do your own research. And I've had years and years of experience as an herbalist. So I have experimented a lot and always listening to my body. But yeah, just taking a little bit of a couple to keep your sensitivity high and rotating through. So I think that's the end of this story. And I just am so grateful for anyone who took the time to tune in. I really hope you feel empowered to caretake yourself, and whether it has to do with abortions or something else. Like, we have herbs and plants and nutrition and preventative healthcare tools that exist in abundance now, where we can take control of our health and well-being and know that not everything has to be medicalized. I don't have anything against Western medical system. In general, I'm very grateful to be living in this day and time where I feel safe if there's an emergency. However, the Western medical system is completely lacking around preventative healthcare, and is only just now, mostly because of psychedelics, actually, having a natural medicines bill. They're working on it right now. There's no regulations around herbs because it's like not real. So anyways, I really hope that this has been empowering to you to take care of your health and know that you don't have to listen to any body except your own body. You are you know yourself better than anyone, and there's many books and resources out there on herbalism, and yeah, I just really appreciate your time, and so take care. I hope you have an awesome day.